Hello, everybody. Kelly Kleinman here with Sean Kelley, founder and CEO of Car Motivators, author of the best-selling book, The Visitor, and newly published Learn to Coach, Learn to Lead. Hello, everybody. And, of course, our good colleague and friend, Global Product Director of Urban Science, Mr. Eric DeMont, to discuss some exciting new data-driven technology, of course. Urban Science, the automotive industry's leading supplier of actionable analytics for your competitive advantage, a term that I like to coin, has teamed up with our award-winning Car Motivators coaching team to provide dealership decision makers with the data and means of turning that data into record-setting revenue growth. What we're going to discuss today is how real-time defection data helps sales managers take corrective action faster and with more accuracy. Now, a recent Urban Science online study found that 94% of dealers want but don't currently have access to tools that show if a lead was lost. Now, understanding where a lead is in the process and why you might have won or lost them can help you build a more effective sales process and take action quicker. And with competition heating up and sales a little bit more challenging right now, you don't have time to lose. You need the fastest data on the market, and that is supplied by Urban Science. Eric, here's your questions. This is the overall overarching topic, and that would be the need to increase sales efficiency, identifying leads from your CRM that have possibly been purchased from another dealer. I've got a few questions for you. And one of them is, can you highlight how high-performing dealerships are using defection data to become more efficient?
Yeah, thanks for asking. When we rolled this product out to dealers, the problem that we were really trying to solve is that all the time they're spending chasing dead leads or ghosts in their CRM or leads that have purchased elsewhere. Up until now, if you asked a dealer which leads were still open or why they didn't close a particular lead, they would say the lead wasn't good, the quality of the lead wasn't there, that the consumers really weren't in market. But now with this competitive information and insights that we have, we're able to directly correlate a lead to a sale and be able to bring clarity to whether or not that consumer was shopping, and if they're still shopping, and if they're not, identifying the lead within the CRM and marketing as closed, lost, so that they can then move on to the next consumer. When we look at the performance improvements that dealers can achieve from this, in working closely with our direct-to-dealer clients, we've seen that they're spending about 80 hours a week chasing leads that are already out of market. And when you translate that into if they took those 80 hours and redeployed them to working with the leads that are still shopping, we see that on average they're able to increase close rates by about 20%, decrease defection rates by a similar margin, and drive 4 incremental sales per month. On a gross profit margin of $20,000 a vehicle, we can see where that can really add up to some significant savings.
Sure. Is this just more work for dealers, or are they really saving time?
Yeah, so the good news is that with a simple half-hour training class, they can receive access to this defection data and have it even directly uploaded into their CRM. So it's not another darn dashboard. It's not additional work for them to go in and log into another place. Really, everything's going to be is sent to their existing systems. They can stop their sales outreach to those customers that are already sold, and really then recover all that time and focus on the leads that are still in market. So yeah, it definitely is a net savings in terms of time and energy that they're spending.
Yeah. Sean, your turn, and this is under the heading of improving coaching effectiveness, something you know a little bit about, delivering real-time coaching feedback. How does daily defection data enhance coaching?
It's a great question, Kelly. The first way, I believe, is the value that people see in the coaching. It's easy if you're giving observational coaching around lead handling, it's easy for that type of coaching to be dismissed from the sales consultant if it's just blanket engagements on random leads. But when you're actually able to show them that the coaching you're giving them is tied to a buyer who purchased a car in market of same vehicle type, so to speak, it really helps them understand that, hey, if I had done better or if I had done different, I could have actually sold this vehicle. And thus they see that they're getting coaching around areas that will actually lead to more sales. Whereas, Eric kind of mentioned this earlier, when you have the mindset that, well, these leads aren't good leads as a whole, then what type of coaching would make it better anyway, right? So if they see the leads as actual buyers and they're more likely to receive coaching in that area. And this also allows you to kind of zero in on those key areas of opportunity because, and this is one of the challenges to developing your people in the car business is that, if buyers are quote unquote, as they're called at the dealership, lay down buyers, right? Where anyone will buy anything regardless of what you say to them, then a sales consultant can skip steps or have a pretty lackluster approach. And no matter what, the customer is going to buy anyway. And that reinforces that doing things wrong led to a sale. And that's one of the ways that sales consultants in our industry develop bad habits. With defection data, we can actually zero in on the sales that were actually lost, zero in on key areas of opportunity, and we can find out how did they work the lead? Like, what did they do well? Where could they improve? I was working with a BDC director of a 18-store group just a couple days ago, and we were looking at we were getting into the nitty-gritty of lost sales. Sales alert from Urban Science was kind of pinpointing which customers bought elsewhere. And one of the things we noticed with this particular BDR who had lost 3 sales within the last few days was that they didn't have a great in their messaging. They were sending out a lot of messages. Okay, they were doing a lot of tasks, but they weren't effective in their messaging. They didn't have a good call to action. They weren't using at the end of the emails and the end of the voicemails. They weren't including the customer's name in the subject line, and they didn't have anything, any sort of unique value proposition. They were being very informational in their approach, and as opposed to motivational to try to get the customer to take action. And by zeroing in on those 3 opportunities that had bought elsewhere, we were able to kind of show them that, hey, these people are buyers, and that person, that BDR or business development rep, bought right into the change that they needed to make. And as a result, they've already got a message from the BDR yesterday saying how they've already converted to using our new approach. So I think it really helps you hone in on, that you get the buy-in because they see more value. And then finally, it helps you hone in on how they need to work the leads better.
Well, let's talk about learning capacity because there is a learning curve here. How do salespeople learn best? Is it an all-day training session or in the moment coaching?
That's a great question. I think, as crazy as it sounds, it takes both, right? Because listen, as a coach, Car Motivators is the number 1 coaching practice in automotive. We always say, like, coaching or training is like having a shiny car, and then coaching is the fuel that makes that car go from A to B. It's kind of like this training. You want to give everyone the when they first start. Okay, it's that simple. You want to give them the training they need to have the foundation for success. That's where you transfer the right skills to your team members. Mm-hmm. In the training sessions, you want to transfer the skills and then make sure that they're tested for competency. It's like you probably wouldn't want someone flying your plane across the country if they hadn't been tested for competency, right? So you can't hire someone and just start coaching them on something that they've never had a fundamental training around. They need to have that basic foundation of, this is how we work our leads here. That's where scheduled regimented training comes into play, scorecards, and like if you're teaching someone to drive a stick shift, you want to tell them how to do it and why they're doing it, then demonstrate that, and then have them demonstrate back to you. And of course, they're going to mess up, and that's whenever you start giving them coaching. So train and test for competency, and then you can weave in coaching. You can start taking the people that now they can do it, right? They've got the ability because you've trained them. And now, will I do it? So this is where coaching comes in. Will I do it? And coaching will ensure that the long-term behaviors fall into place. And the best part about coaching is it only takes 60 seconds. You can literally have an impactful coaching conversation in 60 seconds. Mm-hmm. And if you have time, I always say, if you have time to tell someone what to do, you have time to ask them what to do. And what professional athlete doesn't have a coach on the sideline watching them play the game? So if you can take your data and your process and your CRM, and instead of telling people that have already been trained what to do, what they're doing wrong, ask them. They should know. They should be able to self-assess and analyze what they're doing well, what they can do better. And if they tell you what they're going to do differently, as opposed to you telling them, then they've built it. And if they build it, they own it. And if they own it, they act on it. So I'll just, to reiterate, is training is the foundation. Answers, can I do it? And coaching is the ongoing fuel that makes things go. And that's the will I do it.
Okay. So go ahead, Eric.
Yeah, interestingly, and we worked with Sean to provide data and insights for both aspects, both the training and coaching aspect. So our traffic view solution provides benchmark defection rates by salesperson so that you can understand how those salespeople are performing in terms of not only the closes that they're delivering in the sales, but also how many ups they had that ultimately sold somewhere else. And that's a whole new paradigm to add to the training aspect of this, of understanding where they rate relative to their peers and maybe even the lead sources and types that they're working. On the coaching aspect, defection notifications are sent to BDC managers and or salespeople on a daily basis. So enabling that real-time feedback and coaching aspect that are solidifying those key points that you delivered in the training aspects is supported by the tool. So we see that as a really great combination and very complementary to the work that Sean and team are doing in terms of helping the dealers sell more cars.
So that's basically how the defection data can connect the dots in individual tactical coaching conversations. Anything to add to that at all, Sean?
Yeah, I would also say that it helps you identify which people you need to spend more time doing what I would call turnaround coaching with, because the defection data can help you identify, you think you've got a high closer on your team, but maybe you find out that they're also a high closer, top closer for your competition. And defection data allows you to zero in on the people that aren't just good at closing within your dealership, but also the ones that are handing off good sales to your competition. And then you can kind of know who to spend some focused turnaround coaching with.
Right. And then imagine being able to do that in the moment, the day after you lose a sale, before the store even knows that person is no longer going to reach back to respond to messages saying, hey, you know what, looks like we lost Mrs. Smith. Tell me what you guys were talking about. Did you follow process A, B, C, and D? And if not, let's talk about why and what else we could do to help you to ensure that next time we follow that process and prevent Mrs. Smith from going down the street.
Okay, along those lines, how can dealers use defection data to pivot messaging with customers? That's how to do it with the salespeople. How can they do it with customers?
Yeah, we've seen this happen a couple different ways. So as I mentioned, we feed the defection data back directly into the CRM. And depending on the CRM that you use, you can have automated workflows that move a consumer or a prospect out of the new sales messaging campaign strategy and into either a service or maybe it's a branding strategy to bring them back into the brand next time they're in market. We've also integrated with CDPs to do something very similar. And then, of course, we can also use those defection insights to change the message that the salesperson is delivering directly to the consumer themselves. At the end of the day, we want to avoid bombarding consumers that have already left, that have already made a purchase decision elsewhere with additional sales message, because we know at the end of the day, we're not in it for just one deal. We're in it for the lifetime of deals. And we're looking to maximize that lifetime value and bring them back into the store the next time they're shopping. And having relevant, timely messaging that is consistent with where they are in their shopping or ownership process is really the key to doing that.
Yeah, so it's critical that we know where a customer is in the market at the time. Jump ball questions regarding optimizing your investments, creating long-lasting strategies. How do results and behaviors work hand in hand for coaching opportunities?
I'll speak to that for sure. I think that, again, circling back to what Eric said in the very beginning, right, is like everyone knows closing ratios, but we don't know who's closing for our competition. So I think that when we can help people truly understand what success looks like, in some of our top most coachable, we'll call them stores that we work with on this side, on the variable ops side with lead handling and things like that, they measure success differently than a lot of other dealerships. They are looking at, hey, who's losing the most customers? So then you can really have a targeted approach, know who needs, who's really a top performer, who's really an underperformer. People know what success looks like, and that when you start measuring success differently, it changes the way you engage with your people. So I think it's really important that we have this 360-degree view of our data, and I like that. Now we get the other side of that with the urban science data.
Jump ball question number 2. What other kind of operational improvements can you make using defection data?
Yeah, this is interesting. We actually just hosted a dealer advisory board where we had 10 progressive dealers from around the country come in and help us talk through our existing portfolio of defection solutions, as well as the enhancements we want to make in the future. And when we were talking about the existing products and how they're being utilized in the marketplace and how they're deploying them, for us, it's very exciting to see ideas pop out and applications emerge that we hadn't even thought of at the beginning. And a couple of the ones that come to mind as we discuss this is tailoring messaging to using defection data to develop insights around which models and which types of consumers are defecting most frequently, and being able to identify and correlate that to inventory levels. And what we've seen some really innovative dealers do is actually proactively reach out to consumers who of models that were on allocation or on order that were ending up defecting to other brands because they couldn't wait or didn't want to wait any longer. And so this dealer started messaging to those consumers differently about alternatives, and or just to keep them excited about the product that they were waiting for, to prevent that defection from occurring while they were waiting for the vehicle to be delivered.
Yeah.
We also saw them start to change their outreach strategy for new vehicle acquisition. Again, when they saw certain models defecting more frequently than others, they started to look for like new vehicles of those same varieties in the used vehicle inventory, and soliciting consumers, maybe owners who had purchased previously, to see if they were interested in a trade-in to get them into a new model, which then would allow them to offer the other vehicle to the consumer that potentially could defect. So we've seen that happen on both sides of that ball, which again was a unexpected application that we were really excited to see.
Yeah, I'd like to add to that one too. I think there's there's the service conquest opportunity. If you can, a lot of dealers nowadays are giving away free oil change or maintenance if you purchase a new vehicle from them, so they're trying to capture that service retention. But point is if you can identify within 24 hours who bought elsewhere and really have some good targeted marketing there, maybe you can try to do some service conquest marketing and retain. We actually have a store in New Jersey that actually exceeds 100% customer retention their first 12 months. They hit 100, not uncommon for them to hit 106%. What that means is they're not only retaining all of their service customers, but they're getting their competitors because of that type of marketing campaign. And you asked operationally. Another one is staffing levels. When to, how many BDRs do you need, right? And this allows you, because bottom line, if I can eliminate 15 to 20% of my tasks in my work plan and my CRM, that allows me to have a more efficient staffing levels. And I would say those are probably the main operational improvements that I've seen from our dealers.
Yeah. And jumping off of that, imagine the level of enthusiasm, how you increase a BDC or salesperson's level of enthusiasm by cutting out the 15% of consumers who have already bought. And so when they're following up a consumer, they have confidence that they have a legitimate shot to close that lead into a sale in a short period of time. That's going to lead to higher retention. It's going to lead to even higher sales performance. And again, what we've seen from the dealers that we're working with is that they can increase their close rates about 20% by not only the training and coaching, but also the intrinsic motivations and level of excitement and performance that these salespeople are able to bring to the job.
Yeah. So what should our takeaways be? I have 3 takeaways here. One is to utilize tools that help you optimize and streamline your sales process to drive efficiency, effectiveness, and sell more cars. Real-time defection data creates opportunities to coach and learn in the moment, and to use defection data to enable better and longer-lasting relationships with consumers and salespeople. Would anybody like to expand on those?
Yeah, I can take a swing at the first one. I think you mentioned a really good point, is that the data is not only there to create longer lasting consumer relationships, and we talked about how that can be done through more relevant, timely messaging based upon the individual consumers and market position, but then also tying that back to a better salesperson experience by taking all those defective leads out of their contact book and moving them into the service strategy or into a brand strategy. I think the benefits here are to both salespeople and the consumers alike, and then not to mention the dealership as well, as they experience the better retention of existing consumers and salespeople.
Look, and I'll add on to that too, because I agree, and I think the work, when you think about the work plans and you start realizing when you should get, if you have a BDC, when you should get your sales team involved, and you start maybe bringing the you adjust your task workload for each lead or internet opportunity earlier earlier, because you see that your sales are defecting within 4 days, right? So now you make you're able to adjust in real time, and you're able to identify which lead sources are providing the most opportunities and things like that. We won't get an attribution on this conversation, but ultimately, and then to take that information and then bring that to your frontline team and help develop them and show them, hey, this lead source is working, but it's not working for us. What do we need to do to work these differently? And you include your team in those types of conversations, and now they start thinking a little more strategically and start taking a little more ownership in how they handle your customers. I think that improves both the customer experience and helps you as the dealer get the most out of your spend on your marketing and your leads.
Outstanding. Gentlemen, that's all the time we have. Anything else anybody would like to add?
Thanks for having us, Kelly. This is an awesome interview.
Sean Kelley, Car Motivators, thank you very much. Eric DeMont, Urban Science. Guys, have a great afternoon.